Monday, she sat down with our own Chris Wallace, who asked her a question that has now come under heavy fire.
The rap on you here in Washington is that you have a history of questionable statements, some would say gaffes, ranging from talking about anti-America members of Congress to on this show a couple of months ago when you suggested that NATO airstrikes had killed up to 30,000 civilians. Are you a flake?
Well, I think that would be insulting to say something like that because I'm a serious person.
But you understand when I say that's what the rap on you is.
And here's what Chris had to say after that interview.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean any disrespect. I simply was trying to put an issue that's out there directly to her because some people do dismiss her as a flake.
But the Congresswoman is standing her ground. Here's what she told ABC News earlier today.
Do you accept his apology?
Well, I think that it's insulting to insinuate that a candidate for the president is less than serious.
And back with me to react to all of that is GOP presidential candidate, Minnesota Congresswoman Michele Bachmann. He did apologize, Congresswoman. Can you update us? What's the latest?
Sure, yes. I got a call at supper time this evening from Chris Wallace, and he offered his apology to me directly. I had not heard from him until supper time today. When he called, he did apologize, and I was happy to accept his apology, and he will move on.
Okay, so as far as you're concerned, this is over. And he did, look, in fairness to him, he did use the words, I messed up, I'm sorry. But it was interesting. I understand a lot of people were offended by the question, and they got in contact with him. I watched his statement. I guess journalists can mess up as well as politicians. I've messed up a few times. I know this is hard to believe. I've messed up a few times, Congresswoman.
I doubt if anyone is going to believe that, Sean. But the whole point of that interchange is that I am a serious person and a serious candidate for the presidency of the United States. I'm a tax attorney. I've spent a number of years. I have a doctorate degree and a postdoctorate degree in tax law from William and Mary. I've spent years working in the United States federal tax courts. My husband and I started a very successful small business. We're job creators. And I've also worked heavily in education reform and scored a remarkable victory in my state in education reform. We've also taken in 23 foster children and raised 5 children. We started a charter school for at-risk children. And I have worked very hard in Washington, D.C. to oppose gargantuan government and also the government takeover of health care. I have a strong record, and most important of all, I'm not a part of the good old boys club in Washington, D.C. I have a titanium spine, and my goal is to take the common sense voice of the people I grew up loving me and pouring into me. I want to take their voice to the White House to have real change going forward so we can turn the economy around.
You know, it's interesting because that is a very substantive answer. And I do think in politics, and this was my point earlier, you know, President Obama has made plenty of gaffes and plenty of mistakes. And I don't think anybody would ever ask him such a question. Now, I know Chris. I don't think Chris has a mean bone in his body. Journalists can mess up. Talk show hosts can mess up. Presidential candidates can mess up. And so can presidents in terms of speaking. And I was glad to hear you accepted his apology. And I'm sure it was very sincere. But the problem is we're so quick to jump on somebody almost immediately. And maybe this is a moment where everybody on both sides can reflect and say, you know what? All right. John Wayne was born in Iowa. Maybe not Waterloo, but he was born in Iowa. You knew what you were talking about. And it seems that we're just trying to play this gotcha game a little too much. Thoughts?
Well, I think that because of the immediacy of information comes out, I think it's very tempting to do something like that. But the most important thing to focus on right now, Sean, is to try and really think about people's lives in the United States. And